Yo, what's good, everybody? Or every person, whoever is watching this. Yo, my name is Persevere, and I created this blog just to kind of get some ish off my chest. Just anything culture related, whether it be music, life, whatever it is, just something to talk about. And whoever is around to listen to it, I appreciate you. More power to you. All right, more blessings, more everything. But what I wanted to talk about on my first ever foray in posting discussions like this on YouTube is all of this talk about Kendrick and Kendrick Lamar, meaning Mr. Kendrick Lamar Duckworth, and Playboi Carti, with Kendrick collaborating on a few songs on Carti's latest album titled I'm Music. So I'll just start off by telling you I am not a Playboi Carti fan. I'm not a vamp, right? um, I have heard songs by Carti before, and some of them I actually like, right? But I can't say I'm the the biggest follower or listener of Carti music. Um, I think it had a lot to do with his voice for me. His voice back in the day, or that voice he did, that light, yeah, that I I can only stand about 3 minutes at a time of that. Yeah, I'm not even talking about understanding what he's saying, because I get it, right? You got to listen. It's a style, it's a vibe, right? Right? You're supposed to just kind of chill, zone out, do what you do if you know what you do, and enjoy that, right? But the voice used to throw me off. It's not until lately when he started using, like a non demonic child helium voice tone in a lot of his music, that I was like, okay, I can I can listen to this. You know what I'm saying? So I started listening to a couple of things. There are a couple of songs on, I think his last album was a Whole Lot of Red, I believe, right? Over 4 years ago. Um, and so, yeah, again, there are a couple of songs that I like, nothing that I necessarily love. But of course, in good marketing promotion, not that, people weren't already waiting for this album, right? His fan base, his core fan base. But, the King of the Hill, Mr. Boogeyman himself, Kendrick Lamar, once the news came out that he was heavily featured on this new album, then a whole lot more ears started perking up and waiting for this album to drop, right? So again, I think that was good to put that out there right before, because people have, even though Kendrick has been putting out probably the most amount of music he ever has in a year time span, people are still fiending for more Kendrick music, right? So this was, and of course, with the whole Drake thing happening, I'm not even going to get into that with Mr. Graham, sir. All right, I don't want no problems with you. So that's another discussion. But with all of this stuff happening with Kendrick and Drake and post battle stuff, people are still kind of fiending to hear him, and then hear if he's gonna diss Drake, which I heard was leaked that he had a couple of subtle or not so subtle shots at Aubrey Graham. So of course, anticipation got even higher. The album was released, and I listened to it, and 30 tracks, right? what was it, 77 minutes? Nah, bruh. Nah, bruh. That should have been a part one, part two, like Future did. You know what I'm saying? For last year with We Don't Trust You and We Still Don't Trust You. That is what he should have done. I mean, just release it a few months later, bruh. I still haven't gone through that album. And I've even started from the middle point, right? Um and still haven't made it to the end. So I, I don't know, bro. It's too much. It's too much. But yeah, I mean, what I heard though was it sounds pretty much on brand based on what I've heard about and heard from Playboi Carti. Um, of course, everyone is talking about the track that Kendrick is rapping on. He's only rapping on one of the three at least known tracks that we can hear him on, right? One track is singing, one track is ad libs, and then the one that everyone's talking about, of course, is Good Credit, which, he had a verse at the end of it, right? And everyone's, some people are split on it. All the vamps, all the Cardi fans are like, bruh, we don't need all this lyrical, miracle, spiritual stuff. And then the Kendrick fans who've been drawn to this, because whatever verse he puts out, they're going to be on. It's like, bruh, he saved that song, right? But the thing I want to talk about is why are people acting surprised that Kendrick would be on a Playboi Carti album? I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, it's very strategic, but it's also like kind of like the next step to me, right? And I'll explain why I feel that way, right? The first thing is just a year ago, right? Almost a year ago to the day, Kendrick was on another Atlanta, aka mumble rapping, whatever you want to call him, vibe rap. Some would call the pioneer of this space Future, right? That was a Future album. Future and Metro Boomin, right? We Don't Trust You. That's where he kicked off this now historic beef with Drake on the song Like That. So if you think about it, right? I mean, Playboi Carti is a direct descendant, if you want to call it that, musically, of Future, right? I mean, there are a lot of them, but he is like right from the tree of Future. So I don't really understand why people were surprised or like, oh, what's he doing on? He was on Future's album, right? And nobody batted an eye at that, right? Or maybe some did, but I didn't hear as much hubbub. I think the thing is with Playboi Carti, he's carved such an identity as such like a recluse and a niche type of artist that people forget like this dude is a direct link to Future, right? It's not a huge difference, especially now that he doesn't have the little demonic baby helium voice, right? At least on every track, he still has it, but yeah. I mean, I don't understand that, right? So I think that's kind of like in line with what Kendrick started last year, right? He was on Future's album. He's on Playboi Carti's album. It makes sense to me. And then also, I want to say that he actually has a lot of I could tell that he's working on carving a sort of how should I call it, like a union with Atlanta, and especially Atlanta based artists. If you think about it, the aforementioned Future collab, right? And then on Not Like Us, I mean, he made sure to put on his third verse, I believe, of Not Like Us, a whole kind of like short, summarized, truncated history lesson on Atlanta. There were a lot of areas in the country that have experienced that kind of colonization. Granted, he's talking about musically, and of course, it's a diss to Drake, so he's relating that to Drake constantly, kind of um, in and out working with Atlanta artists. But if you really think about it, that was kind of a little history lesson on Atlanta. So he's been working since the Future collab, at least as far as I know, to kind of forge some relationship artistically with Atlanta, I feel, right? And so it kind of makes sense that once he got Drake out the way, he would still, want to foster that relationship. I think, he's done that with other artists too. I mean, Kodak Black was on Mr. Morale, and granted, he's not from Atlanta, he's from Florida. But still, I think that group, right? Southern street artists with a kind of core fan base, not a huge like pop fan base. I mean, you can argue that Future has a pop fan base, but people still look at him as like the dude that sets it off in the strip club, in terms of music. So I would say he's kind of in that slot as well, where Kendrick is now kind of moved into this whole pop atmosphere on his own terms. I will give him that, right? Has not compromised a bit as far as I know, but he still tries to keep his connection to the underground, right? Or to these groups. And I think these Southern artists, especially from Atlanta, are artists that he wants to keep that connection with, right? Especially, like I said, the like the Futures and the Playboi Cartis, that are still having massive movements in Atlanta, right? I will say that unlike Drake, right? Because I did say earlier he got Drake out the way. I don't think he got Drake out the way so he can replace Drake and also colonize. I think if you notice on Future's album and on Carti's album, even though he's stepping into their world, his contribution is still distinctively Kendrick Lamar, right? He's rapping. He's not, he might not have the triple entendres, but he's still entendring the hell out of those songs. And he's still displaying his lyrical ability, at least on the rapping songs with Carti. He's, the Backdoor song, I think is the name, Backdoor. He's harmonizing, he's singing, which is kind of what he does on his songs too, right? The at least the ones that are a little more commercially upfront. And then he has one where it looks like he's just kicking the shit and ad-libbing. You know what I'm saying? Now that you could say is kind of taking a little bit of Cardi's sauce, but I don't even think that. I think he just sounds like he's having fun. Like he's in the studio and he's just like, yeah, I'm home, and and he's just talking shit, man. And so I would not equate that to a colonizing move, which I know the Drizzy stands are probably saying, right? But he still kind of kept his integrity and contributed the best way he can in these artists' worlds, which are distinctly different from his, which I think he's having fun with. So all in all, I think this is not surprising to me. It's kind of expected and it's kind of strategic. Like once he got kind of the colonizing piece out the way, right? Because he's probably looking like this dude is just colonizing. He's not collaborating, right? We're talking about Drake. He kind of got in there and did his thing. So that's my take on it. I don't know if that's a popular take. I really just haven't really been looking around on the internet on takes of that, but I have seen some talk about, why is Kendrick on? And I'm like, why not? It makes perfect sense. It is a strategic alliance. He's still doing his West Coast thing, right? As a matter of fact, when he raps, he's still talking about the West. That Luka Doncic line was nice, right? That's a LA type of reference, right? But I think he still sees Atlanta and Kendrick, meaning Kendrick, as still a dominant force, especially in terms of like quote unquote underground scene. And he's a fan of that, right? And not a fan like a colonizing fan, but just like he respects what they do, even if it's different from what he does. And he's still West, man. He's still going, like he said, he's going to carry the weight. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's my 2 cents. I'm gonna try from now on to also drop at least once a week, kind of current event take. It might not be hip hop related. It probably will be though dominated by hip hop related content, but there'll be times when I'm just shooting shit. So anyway, y'all, I appreciate whoever listened to this rambling, and trust and believe it will get better. But I appreciate whoever hung in there to listen to me ramble on. But let me know in the comments if you agree. Like, who's surprised about this? Like, it makes perfect sense. When I heard the announcement, I was like, oh, duh, that makes sense, right? After Future's, he splashed on Future's album last year. Anyway, like I said, comments below if you want to. I'm not the type to force people to do any of that. But if you want to comment, please do. And I'll definitely get back to you. But until next week, I'll holla at y'all. Peace.